today we're back on the Sandbox project, going through another quick thing that I think is quite interesting, and it's my little pet that I created. So you can see here, as we're running around and stuff, we have this little spark kind of pet. It doesn't really fit in this game brilliantly, but I've seen many spark pets. There's one specific game and I've kind of forgotten what it is, might be Zelda, where you have a little spark pet like this, and it follows around, and I thought the pathing and stuff was quite interesting. So how it moves but not quite the same speed as you, and also when it gets in your kind of radius it moves kind of randomly and doesn't just stay in one place. It also provides light when the lighting system is working, but yeah, I might save that for another video because the lighting system is very big and takes a lot of going over. Anyway, the spark is controlled using a script and an object. The script is pretty simple. It just creates a particle. I mean, there's no fun coding here at all really. It's just setting things, so the shape, the size, the color, the speed, the direction, blend, life, alpha. You know, it's nothing exciting really, and it's all just the basic stuff, so we're gonna leave that and just presume that's great. You know that. For some reason we've got this big yes, that was it. At one point there was a huge problem with this, where it was just this little bit of code here, and for whatever reason occasionally the player wouldn't exist, and so it would try to do this and the whole thing would crash. So I decided to whack this massive debug message so I wouldn't miss it, and then create an instance, because that was obviously a glitch. But anyway, then we had an alarm which apparently worked this time, or maybe it doesn't, I don't know, we'll have to find out. Normally if you're new, my alarms don't tend to work, so I make my own. Right, okay, this is pretty simple. Creates particles every step using global particle system and PT spark, which is this little thing here. And that's pretty simple. All it does is it draws out every step. Again, this is just the particle aspect. It's not very exciting. It's pretty simple. The movement, however, is a little bit more interesting. It's actually not that long. It's pretty simple. What it does is, okay, so the alarm apparently does work. So it means every room speed, which will be 1 second, we set the x coordinates, or the xx, which is the variable, to equal our player plus some random number, or minus some random number. So basically, in our player, within a certain range of that player, it picks a point and decides, right, that's where I'm heading. And this is the bit where it's gets kind of interesting. So if the distance to the player is less than 50, so if we are outside of that kind of radius of the player, then we're moving almost directly to the player. Yep. At a speed of 1. So 1. Yeah, hang on. Let me reset there. So if the distance is less than 50, so if we're within the range of the player, I think I got that the other way around, then it moves directly to this point that we've set here, at a speed of 1. So it's quite a slow speed, but it does move towards it, and so eventually gets inside that range. Otherwise, if we're outside of that range of the player, we're moving towards the x with a slight offset and a slight, I mean potentially we could just use this as well, but it makes it a little bit more random, at a speed of 7. So we're moving a lot quicker, and that means that if I show you, it means that we can't like outrun our pet that easily. I think it is possible. I've never actually tried, but I'll just show you once it loads. So if you see here, if I would do little jumps, it moves quite quickly. if we move a long distance and flat distance, where I can actually jump, you can see it kind of starts to lag behind, but because of the 7 movement speed, it does eventually catch up, especially because we keep getting stuck on things. I mean, if we were to go into God mode and just fly, potentially it could go off the screen. You could build something into that. Yeah, you can see it's now gone, but if we were just to stop for a second, it would catch up with us. So that's kind of how that works. I mean, potentially you could say add another bit in. So you could put this. You could just copy this in and just say if the distance is less than 500, well, let's make it 100 to make it a bit more interesting. Then we'll do this. Else, so if we're off screen, this would be, then we're moving towards it at a much faster speed, so like 20, right? So it's pretty much the same code, but all we're doing is changing the speeds. So if we're massively far, in this case it isn't, it's 100, it's quite close, but we could set that to like 500 as I say, and then if it's off screen it moves really quickly towards them. So you can see it there, it's now keeping up with us. It looks a bit weird because it is jumping, and that's to do with it being 100. If we were to change that to something a bit bigger, so let's say 400, then you can see it'll probably work a bit more as intended. We'll give that a go now. It takes a while to load, and that's obviously because it's such a big world it's loading in. So you can see it's kind of far away, and then at a certain point it should start to, it's kind of jumping around there, but yeah, you could make that a bit more smooth. Obviously I've just wrote that code up now. The reason why it's jumping around, I'll just go over that quickly, is because it's constantly falling into one or two categories. So if it's at that 400 border, then it moves 20, but as soon as it reaches the border it goes to 7, which means it lags out of the border, which means it then goes to 20. So it's basically jumping between these speeds. I mean, one way of doing this would just make this continually move until we reach the player, but yeah, you'd have to spend a little bit longer and do it for a bit more. So I might do that for the next video, I don't know, or I'll probably go over the lighting actually, because the lighting I think is pretty interesting. We've got a couple of scripts there. It was imported from the marketplace asset and ported over for this kind of system using grids and stuff. So yeah, I'll kind of show you that in the next video. Yeah, you know, yeah, let's do that. So if you like to, remember to like, subscribe, all these videos want to do, and I'll talk to you in the next one.